Hi there, welcome back to the channel. So in today's episode, it's going to be a little bit of everything. First of all, an update on how things are going in the engine compartment. So good news is I was able to get the car start. I had a little short video showing that. Interesting enough, a couple things. First of all, the clanking you hear in the video is actually the fuel pump that I still need to sort out at some kind of a rubber isolation to quit that horrible noise. And then when the car actually fired up, full confession, it was only on 3 cylinders. The number one spark plug wire was basically on a old spark plug where I was testing to make sure I could get my timing right. I completely forgot to pull it and put it back on the spark plug on the engine. So good news is, runs a lot better with that spark plug. It also, I went ahead and did a quick timing on it. So I had to basically, the timing marks are underneath the flywheel in this particular car. So I had to do it from underneath the car. So I ended up attaching the positive lead to the positive on the starter. I think it can be seen somewhere down there. Maybe not. Anyway, so, and then I attached the negative over to the alternator, and that was able to actually get the power for the strobe light. So I've got the timing set about 14 degrees before top dead center based on the book. This car was actually one of the emissions cars. So when you look at it, you have to buy a separate book for that. But since we are not putting the pump back on, I'm not going to worry about it. So good news, everything runs. Bad news is that I've gotten it to where it'll idle about 1,200 RPMs, but I cannot get it to idle below that at this point in time. I went through the carburetor setup as discussed in the MGB manual, where it kind of talks to you how to get the actual linkages kind of set up and etc. And pretty much I messed around with that. I messed around with the jet height. And again, every time I start it up, it wants to idle at 1,200 RPM. So gotta most likely go on the MGB forum on that and see what the deal is. I would say vacuum leak, but quite frankly, there's not too many options for a vacuum leak on this car. I actually pulled this hose right here because this hose kind of goes down to those crazy covers on the engine, and I actually plugged them, and that made zero difference. Somebody online made a comment saying that maybe the oil cap could also cause a vacuum leak. Not sure about that, but anyway, I did take the oil cap on and off, and it made no difference. So next step is to kind of post it on the MGB forum. So we'll see what's up with that. So, and then the other kind of full confession, man, I have just been plagued with antifreeze leaks. The latest ones is that on my thermostat housing cover, I guess after things got warmed up, these studs needed to be tightened because it was actually, I was leaking antifreeze through the studs, believe it or not. It's like, holy cow, what the heck? So anyway, got that done. For the most part, I think I've stemmed the flow. Everything works, which is good. So the next project right now, until I kind of figure that out, is kind of important. I believe I have some kind of a leak on my rear axle, and you can tell that there is oil there. You can tell that there is oil on the brakes. And as a matter of fact, I've got the drum brake over here. And yep, it's kind of oily. So anyhow, I'm going to have to most likely put a new seal in it. So we're going to go ahead and show how it's done. It'll be interesting. I'm not sure if I need a puller or not, but we're about to find out. So I have gone ahead and just loosened this up. I took the cotter pin out, and I do kind of loosened it up with an impact wrench. So I'm going to take that apart and then pull it. I believe there should just be an oil seal behind there that I need to replace. So that'll be my goal. Hopefully that, and unfortunately at this point in time, I'm going to have to replace the drum brakes just because they've got oil in it and therefore are toast. So anyhow, next, let me get this set up. Let me see how we're going to get that kind of hub off. I have an assortment of different pullers, so we'll see if that can work. I looked online, and they have some, obviously, MGB specific hub puller tools. So we'll see how that all works out. Okay, so we'll stand by and we'll get everything set up so we can take this apart. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's see if my generic puller is going to work. So again, I already loosened this up and took the cotter pin out with an impact wrench. So luckily I have the big giant, what is this? 1 5/16 socket, which is also the same as the one on the crankshaft. So you can spin the engine around if you want to. So we've got that off. It looks like there's some kind of a washer here. Okay, kind of a tapered washer, that's interesting. Take that off. So just for funsies, let's see if we can actually, nope, that's not gonna come off. So what we're gonna do is hopefully my little puller here is gonna do the trick. There it goes. Nice. That is awesome. So that comes off. And voila. And then I think this is the guy that's giving us problems right here. So at some point in time, you bring the big guns out, pull the slide hammer. We'll see if this will work or not. Drill a little hole in there. We'll put a screw in. We'll see if we can get that to come off or not. I'm thinking most likely it won't, but who knows. Well, that worked. Okay, so quick update while I'm waiting for the parts to arrive to put the seal in the rear axle. So since my last clip, I've been a little bit busy here, especially in the engine compartment. I've had all kinds of fun. Basically, we got the car timed, we've got the carbs synced and the mixture set. We even have gotten the air cleaner on, so yeah, pretty cool. So now I'm not sure how long those air cleaners are going to stay on in the short term, just because once they're on, it pretty much blocks everything. So, but yeah, a couple things. So first of all, I had a fun time pretty much learning all about the linkages of these SU carburetors and how to actually set them correctly. Needless to say, it was a long and drawn out learning experience. I did have some fun with the MG Experience website. But yeah, I got to find out all about the different linkages, what they do, how to set the idle. When I first got this thing going, I mean, it was idling at 1500 RPMs. So anyway, very interesting, very unlike any other car I've worked on. But then again, you know, this is a dual carb cars. I have worked on quite a few motorcycles with multiple carbs. And yeah, syncing them is an issue, so it's definitely a challenge. So after a little bit of effort, I think I've got them close. I'm not sure if it's perfect or not. So that's good. So then we did get the car timed, so that's good also. Had a little bit of a major disaster. My oil pressure gauge has been all over the place. So I went out and bought a Harbor Freight special oil pressure gauge. And so the good news is, according to the Harbor Freight gauge, I've got plenty of oil pressure. Bad news is the fitting, even though it fit, did not seal very well. And before I knew it, I had about 1.5 quarts of oil in my oil pan. Luckily, as you can see, I've taken some precautions and there's actually a pan under the car all the time. So yeah, that was not good. That made quite the mess. So yeesh, yuck. The other thing is I continue to be plagued with leaks on the cooling system. So my latest leak actually was coming from the attachment, the hose attachment to the heater box, and it was just like the actual clamp I used was just not giving it enough pressure. And again, just purely random, all of a sudden it's like it started to leak. So yeah, I will say that's been kind of an interesting takeaway so far. I just had all these crazy antifreeze leaks all over the place. So yeah, good times. That's all part of it, I guess. So anyway, so I'm a little excited. So I do finally have the air cleaners on. This is beginning to look wrapped up. We'll see. So hopefully I did the mixture in the sink correct. So really, next steps is obviously to kind of finish this up, get the seal in. Once I get that seal in, we're gonna go take the car for a test ride, see how it goes. There is bits and pieces of carpet in right now. I'm trying to make sure I understand where all the different pieces go. So that's coming up. And I just heard from Moss that my seat bottom that got messed up is going to be shipped here shortly. So anyway, that's good news for me personally. So hopefully my next clip that's right after this, it'll be magically day and I'll be magically working on the seal for the rear axle and of course new brakes. So 1, 2, 3, click. Good news, parts have arrived from Moss. So I've got the old seal here. I just got a brand new one, so that's good. I've got a little piece of aluminum. I need to figure out how that's gonna work. My thought right now is to basically drive it in, but I was just noticing that it may not be enough, so we'll have to see how that's gonna kind of get there. So my thought is I'm gonna go ahead and put some oil on both the inside and the outside of this thing, just to make sure it's good and lubricated on both surfaces. That way it should slide in. Hopefully, we'll find out. We'll definitely make sure there's plenty of oil on the inside. And also our good friend here. Ultimately, this is going to have to slide in over here and go back in the hole it came from. Which, my experience of this kind of stuff is normally easier said than done. Okay, after struggling for a little bit, I realized that I can use this guy here as a press for my seal. So I have the other seal behind here. So I'm going to basically put this on top, line the seal up, and then I'm going to try to use our friend here. As a matter of fact, let me make sure that the bolts are not lining up. I'm going to use our friend here to try and push the seal in. So let's see what happens. Okay, so now the big trick is taking the brakes off. So good news, got the seal in, that's good. Even better news, I got the brake shoes replaced. So as always, I am always reminded that I absolutely hate doing drum brakes. They're just all the springs and stuff, it's not fun. What was a lot of fun was I decided to go ahead and replace the piston in there for the drum brakes. And it's got this crazy little clip on the back that pretty much meant I had to take the backing plate off, put it in a vise to get that clip in. It was an absolute pain, not a lot of fun. So anyway, so the good news is all is good, got it back together. I did find out that the parking brake spring right here does not come with the actual brake shoe kit, so that's not a whole lot of fun because I actually bent the other one when I was taking it off, so I had to order a new one, which is why it took so long. But I'm actually now ready to put the splines back on the drive shaft here, so I'm not sure there's really any real magic behind this. So got that in there. We have our nut. And the trick on this thing is it's per the specs needs to be torqued to 150 foot-pounds, so not insignificant. So the question is, how do you get this thing seized to a point where you can actually put that leverage, that amount of torque on the nut? One way to do it, obviously, is I could use an impact wrench and get most of it on there, I guess. So that'd be one way to do it. But still, I will still have to verify it. So looking at a YouTube video, they show putting the drum brake on and then adjusting the brakes to where they're like super solid, and then using that to actually get the torque value. So I'm going to try it. So we'll see how it goes. So first things first, we'll put the drum brake on. And the question is, will it go on? Because am I adjusted correctly? That's the big question. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and adjust the brakes. Basically, I just used a 1/4" socket and a corresponding Allen wrench on a ratchet, so we can go ahead and adjust it in the back. The big trick obviously is going to be finding the actual adjuster, and I think that's it right here. Yep. Okay, so after a little YouTubing, I decided, hey, why don't I put a crowbar in here and see if that will hold up against the 150-pound torque that we have to put it. So we'll give it a quick whirl, see what happens. Clink. Okay, so that clicked. Now the big question is, where's my hole for my cotter pin, and does it line up? So this thing goes, about to find out. The hole is right over here. And looks like I may have to get it to go a little bit more. So I'm thinking if I have to do that, that's impact wrench time, because there's no way I'm going to be moving it with these guys here. So let me get that set up real quick and we'll get it aligned. Awesome. Okay, let's see if we can get just a little movement on this. Yep, going the right way. That should hopefully be enough. Let's go grab a cotter pin and find out. So the good news is the spec is 150 foot-pound and tightened to the next available for a cotter pin. So that is perfect. We can definitely put that one in. Life is good. Get that one bent. So that's that. And then we will have to cut the other one. But yeah, so anyway, I called this done. We will get the tire mounted up, and then I need to check the differential oil level to see what's going on with that. It did very clearly say, do not overfill. If not, you will leak oil into your brakes. And guess what happens? Yes, we did leak oil into our brakes. So I'm actually kind of curious to see what the level is going to be on that. So, but yeah, I consider this is done. So anyhow, then I'm going to end this video here. So if you like this video and you want to see more content like it, please go ahead and subscribe. If you like the video, just give me a big thumbs up down below, and we will see you next time. Okay, take care. Bye-bye. If you like this video, hit subscribe and give us a big like down below. Thanks for watching.